So in my last video, made a tier list where I talked about, who I think could possibly be getting into Smash, which is I've made like 5 or 6 of these by now. And I hilariously, because I'm very funny, put Phoenix Wright in the very bottom tier. Now I say it's funny, but it's only funny because it's true. That's my real serious opinion, and I will not back down from that. Anyone who legitimately thinks Phoenix Wright has a strong chance of getting in, I would say is absolutely crazy. And I'm willing to bet money on it because it's so incredibly infuriating, the idea that people think he has a chance of getting in. Almost everything is going against him for his case of getting in the game. Not only is his character just very strange and not very viable for fighting, which doesn't mean it can't happen. We have Game & Watch, we have Wii Fit Trainer, we have Rob. Rob was just a toy. Rob's not even from a fucking game, so he shouldn't even be in Smash. But we kind of let it happen because he's so iconic for Nintendo's history with video games. So it's mostly okay that Rob is in, and all those characters being in is very cool. Like, I didn't even know about Game & Watch stuff until Melee came out. Of course, I was a kid at the time, but I'm just saying I didn't really know much about that stuff. So him being included was a really cool thing, and that's all good. And Phoenix Wright could work in Smash as a playable fighter because pretty much any video game character in Smash could work. Pac-Man works, for example. And again, even Pac-Man and Little Mac for Smash 4, I remember thinking those two won't get in because they don't make any sense, but they got in. And they sort of work. Little Mac could work. Little Mac could work if you play with items on and grab the jetpack all the time. Then he can work. But yeah, for the most part, he doesn't really work as a viable one-on-one fighter. But not to go too off topic, I'm just saying his moveset would be wacky and crazy, and it's not very viable for a fighting game, but it's not like Smash couldn't make it work. But it is one note against him, is basically his moveset would be something they would have to completely pull out of their ass. Now, again, that's fine. Sakurai could do that. That's not an issue. But it's a matter of if the moveset isn't like perfect already, then there's other factors that are going to make him need to they're going to have to consider. So why should they go through that struggle and that extra work of coming up with a viable moveset for a visual novel character? Well, one reason would be if it's an iconic video game character for gaming history, which Sakurai has said they have to be like an iconic character and they have to be important to gaming history before he considers them in. Of course, that was back for Smash 4. The rules change every game, and I fully admit that. So it doesn't mean they have to be super iconic characters. It just means they have to be just like important to gaming as a whole, like just something that is important and recognizable, I guess. And I would say Phoenix Wright is low on that tier list. I would say that if we look at every character and not just only Capcom or whatever, then you start to consider how low he is on the tier list. Now, if you're saying Capcom should get another character, we need a third Capcom character, and Ken doesn't count because he's an Echo, which I would say he counts, but but to be fair, yes, that's the same franchise as Street Fighter, right? So we need another character, which Capcom also has Monster Hunter as a assist trophy, so they have 3 game franchises in Smash, but okay, I hear what you're saying. They need a 4th character. They need a 4th representation in Smash, a 3rd playable character, 4th playable character if you count Ken. Okay. Capcom, what do we got? And then you start looking at what they have, and you say, well, Resident Evil's out because of the spirits. Okay, well, that doesn't mean that Capcom's getting for sure another character. That hurts all of Capcom's chances if Capcom is getting so much content and the Mega Man Mii costumes and all that stuff. If all that stuff's going in, that hurts all of Capcom as a whole. Because Resident Evil is way higher up there on that list of iconic characters than Ace Attorney is. So this is really hurting Phoenix Wright's chances already. So what do we do? Well, we have what about another Clover Studios character? Like what if we put in like Dante, or what if we put in like Amaterasu from Okami? Well, I don't know if Amaterasu works, and Dante could work. I think Dante does have the iconicness factor to him, but I don't know. I mean, he could play really unique and fun, but it's almost just a matter of like, does Smash really? At that point, it's almost like you're just putting in a character just to put in a character, Like, is Dante, yes, he could play really fun and unique and all that, but is he really going to really bring that much to the table for Smash? Some people would argue yes, and for some people, it's just their favorite video game character, and that's why they want him in. I understand that, but at a certain point, we are splitting hairs here. Like, at a certain point, I feel like Smash has really good video game representation already with so many different characters that adding in Dante is sort of just like, I mean, it would be like a cherry on top. It would be like a bonus. And by no means do I not want Dante in. I would be very happy with Dante in. But I just feel like there's plenty of other characters who could bring something new and fresh to the table for Smash that would be just more exciting, you know? And I know some of you guys are like, okay, but what about Byleth? How do you explain Byleth then? Well, Byleth is Nintendo first party, and Dante is Capcom third party. And that's the other point with Phoenix Wright. He's bottom on this icon list, and not only that, but like he's a third party character. So why was he in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3? Well, he wasn't in regular Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and that's because other characters were more important. But when it comes to Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, why was he in that game? Well, they thought, well, first of all, Ace Attorney games were still ongoing at the time, and Marvel vs. Capcom does serve as a product to sell other Capcom games, because that's why Chris is Resident Evil 5 style in that game. That's why Bionic Commandos, I think his name's Spencer. That's why they made him based off of the Xbox 360 version and not like the classic version, because they're trying to sell that game at the time, you know? Like, those were games around that time, and now it's kind of weird because it's such an iconic fighting game, but that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to sell those characters, you know? So that's why there's like Weskers in the game too. Like, they're just trying to sell Capcom characters, basically. So you have Phoenix Wright in that game, and people say he works. I would disagree. I think a lot of people kind of actually agree with me that he's not one of the fun characters to play. He's actually one of the most annoying characters to play. And he's most likely in there just for the meme. He's barely functionable, but it is really cool just to hear him yell objection, because it's such a cool tribute to Ace Attorney, and if you were a fan of Phoenix Wright, then this will make you happy. So him being put in the game is like, it's fine for the most part, but most people agree he is such a gag character that he barely even works, right? And so people want that character in Smash. And some people, I saw this great tweet that said people only want him in Smash because they saw he was viable in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 somehow. And people got really mad. They all said, no, we don't. That doesn't matter. And Sakurai doesn't need to take the moveset from there. And it's like, well, he kind of does, because there's no visual information at all about Ace Attorney. Again, like there's just nothing to. He's literally from a visual novel, guys. Like, there's literally nothing you can do with him, because it's all like there's no like animations of him at all, like besides him pointing and yelling objection. Like, it's almost like the most misused opportunity of a character to do something like that, to use a visual novel character. And some people say visual novel characters need representation. No, they don't. Smash is not about representing all game genres. If it was, we would have had a first-person shooter character in like the second or third game. That's not what matters. Now, some people might say, okay, it has shooter characters, just not first-person shooter characters. Fine, I agree. But that's not the point. That's not the point at all. I don't think it's about representing genres. I think there's a reason why most of the characters are either from a platformer or they're from a RPG. Specifically like turn-based RPGs. There's a reason why there's so many characters from those two genres of games, because those genres of games lend themselves to having great characters for a character-based fighting game. You know, that's the reason. So yes, we have shooters. Yes, we have characters from fighting games. Yes, we have blah 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 blah. But when you just say, oh, we need an indie rep, or oh, we need a visual novel rep, or oh, we need a first-person shooter rep, oh, we need... Nah, just throw that out the window, because there's no consistency with that argument at all. Smash has never done that before. The first time they ever did anything like that was when they put in Ryu, and they said, this is the first fighting game character. And for some people, they're like, oh, yeah, because Smash needed a fighting game rep. And to me, I would say, no, it's because Sakurai didn't want to do fighting game characters, and he decided to change his mind for Ryu. And after that, I feel like the Band-Aid was ripped off and the floodgates are open. And that's why we have Terry. I feel like we wouldn't have had Terry unless we got Ryu. And I think Sakurai realized that. Like, he wanted to do some... He's like, hey, man, we have so many characters now that there's characters I really want to do. And he realized, like, Ryu would be a good fit here. I think Ryu deserves it, because when I think of video games and fighting games in general, I always think of Street Fighter. So Like, Street Fighter is one of the most important video games ever made. So, I mean, there's a reason why Chun-Li is in Wreck-It Ralph and stuff like that, right? So, and Zangief is in Wreck-It Ralph too, and obviously he's got the more speaking role in that game or that movie. So it's like, yeah, of course Street Fighter gets to get in, and that's why Terry got in, because they're like, well, if we're gonna put fighting games in, might as well put Terry in as well, because Terry is a badass, and Terry's one of the coolest fighting game characters ever made. You know, it's like you don't need to represent all fighting game. You don't need to represent a whole bunch of different things, but and I'd rather them represent Terry than represent another Capcom game. I'm not gonna lie, you know. And I'm glad. Like, I would prefer Terry over Dante, over Phoenix Wright, over a Resident Evil character any day, because he's a good character for a character-based fighting game. Phoenix Wright is not. Phoenix Wright would be good for as assist trophy. I totally agree with you guys there. If you put him in as an assist trophy, that would be dope. But at a certain point, how much Capcom representation do we need in one game? Yes, I agree that as more Smash games come out, there's going to be more and more third-party reps. That's just how it's going to be, because they're going to eventually be tapping into that territory. But it's a matter of how much do we need and how much do we need right now. So do we need Phoenix Wright right now? No. First of all, I think he's only ever going to be an assist trophy. That's all he ever should be. Marvel vs. Capcom 1 had this whole mechanic where characters that weren't playable were a part of like these summons you could call in to do like assist attacks. And if Phoenix Wright existed back then, I bet you he would be one of them. But I don't think he's going to be playable in Smash by any means. And here's the thing. I know for a lot of people, they're just having fun and they're just saying he would be cool. That part is the part I want to say I totally agree. I totally see where you guys are going with this. Like, he could be a very fun character and be very unique and funny and have a cool gimmick to him. I totally agree with you all there. But I could say the same about any character for Smash, you know? And if you just like Ace Attorney that much, you just like Phoenix Wright that much, I totally understand. But again, you have no other argument other than he would be fun, you know? And so for all the people saying, okay, well, Marvel vs. Capcom has nothing to do with the decision to include him. I think it does, because for me, no one really talked about Ace Attorney that much. It was kind of unpopular until Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out and he was in it. Once he was in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, that's when I noticed a lot of people talking about Phoenix Wright way more. And you could say, oh, it's because you're in the fighting game community. No, I wasn't back then. I wasn't back then. People just thought it was a really cool inclusion because Marvel vs. Capcom is a crossover game, and it has a lot of characters from Capcom who aren't typically in fighting games. That's the thing. Capcom, yes, they make fighting games. They make like 2 or 3 different brands of fighting games, but the difference is that Marvel vs. Capcom includes only a few characters from actual fighting games. Most of the characters are from just random Capcom games. So that's what makes Marvel vs. Capcom a little bit more exciting than other games like Marvel vs. Street Fighter and X-Men vs. Street Fighter. So, though I would argue Marvel vs. Capcom 1 is like my favorite of all of them, and that game includes like Ryu, Chun-Li, and Morrigan, and then like Jin from another fighting game, but it's for like a giant robot mech fighting game, and like all this weird shit. So I mean, that game's like half fighting game characters anyway, and it's kind of weird, but whatever. And yeah, so that's what I would say. I mean, if I could, I would rather them put Chun-Li in than over Dante, over Resident Evil, over Phoenix Wright, over Monster Hunter, over Darkstalkers, over anything Capcom has. They do Dragon's Dogma, or is that Sega? I think they do. They do Dragon's Dogma too. Yeah. I would rather just than put Chun-Li over all those characters if I'm being completely honest. But anyway, to go back to the whole Marvel vs. Capcom creating the move list thing, and people saying no, Capcom, like Smash wouldn't even care about that. I just want to point out something about 2 characters from Capcom games that are in Smash Bros. Okay, Mega Man has the Mega Upper, which is from Marvel vs. Capcom. They even referenced that in the trailer. When it came to back in Smash 4, they said Mega Upper from the fighting games or from the Versus games or something like that. Then when it comes to Ken, because yes, Mega Man never uses a Shoryuken just because. He uses the Shoryuken in Smash because of Marvel vs. Capcom. It's straight up, because he has them in Marvel vs. Capcom. Mega Man does not use the Shoryuken in any fucking game except for Mega Man X2, which is Mega Man X, not Mega Man Classic. If they're gonna give Mega Man a move from Mega Man X, it would not be the fucking Street Fighter cameo move. Okay, that literally makes no sense. Mega Man X can also use the Hadouken. Okay, it doesn't make any fucking sense that you would give Mega Man Classic those secret moves from Mega Man X. That's just not how it works. Okay, so he has it because of Marvel's Capcom. Now, when it comes to Ken has two supers, just like Ryu, like two Final Smashes. Ryu has a Shinku Hadouken, and he has the special, I can't remember if it's the Shinku Shoryuken or if it's called something else Shoryuken, but he has the special Hadouken and the special Shoryuken, which is typical because those are like the two supers Ryu typically has in a lot of these games, right? He usually has those two, with the Shinku Hadouken being like the main focus one. But with Ken, they did the same thing. They gave him his special kick combo move that he has in almost all the Street Fighters after like Alpha came out. But they also gave him his version of the Shoryuken, which he has the Shoryu Papa, which is like 3 Shoryukens in a row. But then he has one version of the Shoryuken where he just goes straight up and spins a lot. And if you keep tapping A or you keep tapping the attack button, it does multiple damage. He has this move in Street Fighter 3. He has this move. I think he has his move in Alpha, but he always has these moves in Versus games. In the Versus games, however, they give him this huge flaming like tunnel that he's in instead of just being the spinning. And they gave him that version for Smash. And they even said, again, in the trailer for Ken, they said this is from the Versus series. So yes, Ken is a fighting game character. And yes, they could have he has that move in fighting games, but they gave him the more flashy version from the Versus games. So if you think that Ken and Mega Man don't have inspiration from the Versus games, you're crazy. So if they put Phoenix Wright in, Sakurai plays fighting games. I think Terry pulls that, Terry let the cat out of the bag that Sakurai is a huge fan of fighting games, which he makes a fighting game. So like, of course, what did you expect at this point? So, I mean, come on, guys. So, yes, there would most likely be inspiration from the Versus games, which is another reason why putting Phoenix Wright wouldn't be that special for Smash. Because if you want to see what Phoenix Wright would play like in Smash, you just play Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The reason why I say this is because there's not much you can do with the character, and so this would challenge Sakurai to want to make him more unique from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. You see what I'm saying here? What I'm saying here is that Phoenix Wright is way more trouble than he's worth. And what people who are being naysayers to this, people are saying, oh, no, you guys are just being haters. You just don't want, you just won't let Phoenix in. You think you're making good points, but you're missing all of these factors. And it's based on the fact that you don't understand a lot of the argument. It's based on the fact that you don't understand the challenges presented with Phoenix Wright and how he has more challenges than other characters. Again, 1, he has no moveset. 2, he is not nearly as popular as you guys are making him out to be. 3, while a wacky gimmicky character from Capcom makes sense for a Capcom fighting game, it doesn't really make sense for a Nintendo fighting game. Now with Nintendo, they can put in their own wacky characters because it's Nintendo, but as third-party guest characters go, we haven't yet got to that point where wacky, goofy, gimmicky characters from third parties can be in at all. Like, there is not a single third-party character that's a wacky, goofy, gimmicky character. None of them. Those spots are reserved for Nintendo characters. So we haven't got there yet. So that's another challenge, and he would be the first one to do that. And then 4, he's already in a fighting game that basically does him as a wacky, gimmicky character. And so Sakurai would either be just literally using that character in Smash, or he would be challenging himself to make him different from that. And it's just like, what's the purpose? When you have nothing to make it this worth it. There's not a single factor to make Ace Attorney worthwhile of including in Smash. There's not a single factor to make Phoenix Wright a character. It's lacking in all directions. This is literally the most clear-cut case of personal bias I've ever seen. Now, again, most people, this argument should have never been taken this far. Most people just think it would be really cool, and that it would make me happy, and that's it. And that's fine. Because if you're talking about characters that personally would make you go hype, that's where I say Scorpion, that's where I say Sora, and those characters would make me hyped. But do I think they have a chance of getting in? not nearly as high as so many other characters. And then with Phoenix Wright, not only does he not have as high of a chance as so many other characters, but he has the other Capcom characters holding him back as well. So, and that includes the fact that there's already a ton of Capcom characters in, the fact that there's already Resident Evil Spirits and Mega Man Mii costumes in DLC, like just two huge factors holding Capcom down in general. And then if they were going to do a Capcom character, why would they do Phoenix Wright over so many of the other characters? So again, these arguments don't make any sense. So the Phoenix Wright community, for some reason, is kind of toxic. Just seeing what they had to say. Not in my comments, because people don't watch my videos, but seeing what they have to say in tweets about the subject, I was kind of appalled. I was like, you guys are being that hardcore, that try hard, and that serious over a character whose chance is relatively extremely low, very slim. Very, very slim chance. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. It's okay for anyone to say it's a character they would personally want in the game, but let's try to acknowledge the non-biased truth that his chances are relatively low. And that is why I put him on the nah section of the tier list, because it's not happening. It's just not happening. Anyway, I'm going to end this one here. I'll see you guys on the next one.